first I was looking at global social entrepreneur. And I was like, okay, so I do have an idea about a global social entrepreneur. So kind of like more on the side of caring for the people, caring for the planet, caring for caring for everything, right? And making it sustainable.
Right.
But also I could imagine that there are specific challenges to global social entrepreneurship in terms of leadership, in terms of how you are responding to teams, how you're working, collaborating together. How is that working for you? And then with all of this leadership and your story behind it, would you
Well,
like to?
that's the biggest chunk of my life is my story. I've had, and I say from very small age, I was not bored with my life. I've always had some kind of adventure. At 7 years old, I was told I was a mistake. Back then, it was a trauma. My mom said she didn't want girls, and I was like, what do I do? But life happened, and I wrote my book, Resilience Nourishes the Soul. And all of a sudden, I started looking at all those things that I had been traumatized with and saying, to give it a different look. And I started taking all these empowering courses about limiting beliefs, about believing and loving yourself. And I always thought that was arrogant, but I don't know. I'm not better than anyone else. I just kept playing down my qualities and attitude and gratitude of things that I had done. I kind of just shoved it all aside, like, oh, well, that was too bad, so sad. Yeah, I graduated from the medical university. Yeah, I went in the Air Force. Yeah, I've traveled 49 times. Yeah, I've had 27 surgeries. Yeah, I've been in a wheelchair. It's kind of like I dismissed everything. But then when it came time to write the book, I said, I don't want to write another horror story. The world has enough mess. Let me take a different look at my life. And because of that, and that I also accepted my faith again. I've been raised a Catholic, but we go Sunday. And then it was kind of like, hold that there until we get back next Sunday. But the whole rest of the week, I didn't know how to apply anything I heard. And it didn't make sense to me. But now, since I got out of that handicap mode of being in challenge with my physical, I had a transformation, 70 pounds, 70-inch loss. Okay. That happened right as the pandemic was hitting. And then on top of that, I say, okay, I need to find a way to make money. So I became a personal trainer. And it was mind blowing to me that I could even be losing that much weight, be a personal trainer at 62. I was like, okay, Martie, obviously you have not focused on all the blessings you've had. So I went back and looked at my life history, and I said, when my parents told me I was a mistake, that was like planting a seed of hope that one day I was going to value myself. One day I was going to prove my worth to me. It didn't matter if it didn't happen with my parents. It didn't matter if it didn't happen with the world. But to me, that I was worth something. And then I started believing a little more with the body weight gone, more confidence came. And then I wanted to globalize my product that made me lose the weight. So I joined a networking in Spain virtually. And I was like, oh, I covered my 3 jobs I had lost during the pandemic because I used to teach kids Legos and how to be an engineer. It was fun. I loved it because I haven't had my own children, so I could borrow them and give them back and not take care of them. So it was like all these skills that I had been given all of a sudden came into play in my life. And I said, okay, Martie, you've got a message of resilience. You have overcome, you have surpassed, you have survived. You've known the other side of the coin of depression, of severe, I don't want to be here on this earth no more. And all that just made me realize that someone needs to hear this. Someone needs to be delivered a message of hope. And I just have it like it's a God calling that, okay, you had all this adventure, you had all this tragedy and all these things that you suffered, but I got you out of it. You're still a miracle. You are talented. You have treasures. You have time. Now get busy with with sharing your story and doing it right. And
Yep.
that's what would happen. Now, ever since I published the book in 2022, December 2022, January 2023, I already had received the Resilience Award. And I was like, ooh, this looks good on the resume. I always thought you got to be William Shakespeare to be an author. You have to be very eloquent with your words, this, that, and the other. So I thought, I'll throw my words down. I'll speak from the heart. That's all I know. So my book was well received in English. And then at the
Mhm.
same time, I was like, okay, God, you gave me Spanish as my native tongue. You're going to ask me about my talents, my time, and my treasure. What happened to the Spanish? What you do with it? You can't just, and that's the thing that I now realize, that everything that I've been given, I have to apply it. I have to share it. Okay. So I decided to translate my book into Spanish. And then while that was happening, this is God, I say, he put all these blessings along the route of it all. And I got nominated for a humanitarian award of Women of Hearts. Okay.
Oh,
And
wow.
this was like, oh, that even looks better on my resume. And
That
then it
is
was like, okay,
amazing.
they called me in September. They said, not only did you get nominated, we've chosen you, but you have to come to England to pick it up. And I was like, okay, I'll, and my husband said, you gotta go, you gotta get it. While I was in England, I was already getting cocky enough where I was not writing one book, two books, but I did two anthologies. The people from the anthology said, we've nominated you for Women of Global Story of Impact. And I went, that was in Ireland. And I almost went over there to pick up the award, but it wasn't meant to be, because that very hotel where it was a riot breaking out in Dublin. So I was like, okay, they mailed the award to me. So I didn't even get home, and I already had the fourth award from Latinos Sin Fronteras. This is the Spanish, because I decided to launch myself out of the comfort zone and go full force Spanish. Now, Spanish has always been intimidated to me. Why? I got left back in kindergarten for not knowing my native tongue, Spanish. I learned
Okay.
English before I did Spanish. So I was an embarrassment to how could you forget? My parents didn't accept that. But it was like the best thing that happened to me, because I was the interpreter, I was the translator. At the same time, I felt like weird. I don't know. In Colombia, you say a fruit, and if you say the same fruit in Venezuela, it's a curse word. So I said, the safest thing for me to do is not speak Spanish. So I shut it down and I said, English is safe. You can't mess it up. You can't insult anybody. So I'm sticking with English. But at the same time, it's like, what are you doing with the Spanish? You know two languages. And in fact, in high school, I took third language, French,
Okay.
in honors class. And I liked it because it's kind of like the Romance languages. And it helped me branch out of my comfort zone that I didn't even know those existed. Comfort zones to me were like, well, this is life and I got to stick with it. But I didn't, and all this is so new. It's like I feel like a newbie. I'm still wet behind the ears, but somehow or another, I am now a world-renowned author, a speaker, because I've been speaking on different platforms. And now because of that, I decided to say, okay, this is going to be my full-time job. And I do have a part-time job as a caregiver for a mental group home, the people that are mentally challenged,
Mhm.
but it doesn't interfere with my daily routine or anything that I'm doing. So I feel super blessed. And that's why I say, okay, you gave me the tools, you gave me the skills. Now I have to share the story to the world. And the more I share it, the more I feel like it's oozing out of me, the love for myself, that I
Mm.
just wish I could just put it in little containers and give it to everybody, so that
Yeah.
everybody would believe in themselves and not be comparing, not be saying, I'm no good, I didn't learn this, I don't believe in that, it will never happen to me, I'm too old, I'm handicapped, whatever. I say, hey, God put you through all those examples and you're still here. Now find joy in what you do. And that's what I say, I'm getting paid to do what I love to do. So to me, this is like a cakewalk compared to the 62 years I lived in in a trauma.
Yeah.
But
So I heard that you're also talking to youth, like you want to share
yes,
the resilience to youth. And this is very much at my heart as well, because the coming generations, they have been already grown up with technology, with isolation, with self-doubt, with all of these type of things that really hinder them in. I mean, we do see on one side we have people or kids or youngsters, young talents, and young leaders who are thriving within the internet monitor boxed type thing. Okay, so I am confident for as long as I am here, and when that's gone, I can shrivel back, right? So, but the thing is that there are so many people out there who really don't know how to live relationships, and
exactly.
leadership to me is a part of leading yourself. So that
Exactly.
also has to do with resilience. And this is why you are the one that I reached out to first.
So to me, resilience is key for any age, any anything we do. It's like a key ingredient in the recipe of life. Okay.
Mhm.
If you learn resilience, you learn, first of all, to be introspective, to take a look at yourself, to see where you're standing in the present. Everybody talks about being in the present, but if you don't know yourself, you don't even know where you're standing. You don't know what you like. You don't know how to sort through the muck of everything that you're bombarded with. And I feel for the youth because of that, because they are overstimulated,
Mhm.
super abundantly thrown in every direction. If they don't have discernment, if they don't know how to pick what is grounded in their virtues and their values. So you have to have virtues, you have to have values, you have to have introspection, you have to know who you are. Once
Yeah.
you get that under control, which is a lot of work for a lot of people because no one ever told us that we had to look at ourselves. It was more like, you need to go out there and get a title. You need to go out there and own a house. You need to go get married. You need to form a family. So it's kind of like we were given orders, but we weren't given the instructions on
Yeah.
how it would play out. Thanks be to God, I kind of had an idea. I didn't know what to call it, but I had an idea that I wanted independence. But that independence was learning how to stand on my own 2 feet. When I met my husband, I had already been engaged once by my parents. They tried to arrange the marriage, but I joined the Air Force in the delayed entry program without their permission because I got left back in kindergarten. And then I said, okay, I'm signing my Declaration of Independence. I'm going in the Air Force. I'm gonna get that Declaration of Freedom. And I did, and it felt good. But my parents still had a way to make me feel guilty and all that. So I didn't get married to the first guy. I got engaged to the second guy that I was very much in love, but he asked me to choose between my parents because he kind of knew how they treated me. And I said, I can't do that either. Yes, I appreciate that you supposedly love me, but someone that loves somebody doesn't ask them to split their family. No. So I came back to with my parents, which was like really uncomfortable. So I became a workaholic because as
Mhm.
long as I wasn't at home, I was okay. But you put me at home and that struggle of, oh, you don't know. You're just a kid, you're just a punk. And I'm like, no, you don't get me. You don't know who I am. You don't understand me. So I can identify with kids because kids want to be independent, but they want to be heard. They want to
So,
be accepted
yeah.
and know that they can ask questions. They can question what we show them as an example. And when those kids do that, they open up and they start seeing what maybe is not a good fit, what they thought the world had told them, that this is what you need to do. You need to become a doctor. Yeah, but I don't feel comfortable. Well, then what do you want to become? You like music? Then be a composer, but then be a teacher or be something, develop what you love. And that's when you discovered the magic in the miracle you are. So that's what I teach my kids. I've been a Sunday school teacher for 35 years, so I've had a lot of experience with a lot of different ages, but it seems like the common denominator with all of them in looking back in retrospection is like, that was the key ingredient. I was teaching them resilience. I didn't even know I was teaching them that particular subject, but it was like, you need to be able to, in friendships, like they think that if they have 1,000 friends that they are set. No, 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 no. I only have a handful of friends that I can honestly sit down and trust. And the ones that show up when the things are thick and thin, those are
Yes.
the ones that you can count on. Those are the ones that are like-minded. Those are the ones that even see and detect talents and things in you that you haven't even discovered because you didn't believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And I call those my little angels that God has put along my way. If he had not put those people along there, I'd be probably dead. I probably would have given up on life. I was definitely very severely depressed when I got hurt and I couldn't function anymore as I was.
Mm.
Plus, I reinstated all the things I had heard when I was a child. You're a mistake. Well, see, you're such a mistake. You didn't even give your husband children. I was hard. And that's another thing, that we are so hard on ourselves. We are our worst enemy in that situation where we want to give up quickly. But I say God lit the fire in me and said, okay, no, 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 you just didn't see things. And now that I'm looking back, I just feel abundantly blessed. And that's what I want to share with the world, that you got to stop. You got to go at your own pace. Nobody can force you to be something you don't want to be, because you're never going to be happy doing it. Money
Mm.
does not make you.
Yeah.
Money helps. Money makes you get out your message. Money is important, but it's not the key ingredient. The key ingredient is treasuring yourself, knowing who you are, and using those skills to better the world and leave a legacy of something behind. And that's how I see it. So now I don't feel a failure. On the contrary, I have abundant things that I can share with the world. The thing for me is, how many books can I write before I'm gone? Because there's so much to share. And now I see the value in learning who you are. And because I learned who I was, or half-assed, as you could say it, my husband was also very sound in his who he was and what he wanted to do. And when I met him in May. We got engaged in August and got married the following February. I didn't even know him a full year. But for 41 and a half years being married, I say we knew each other pretty good, that we could be a team. So yes, relationships are important. Jobs are important. You can go find a job that'll pay you everything. But if you already hate that it's Monday and you got to show up and you can't wait till Friday, that's not life. That's not
Yeah.
living. That
Yeah.
isn't enjoying to the fullest everything you can do. When you find what you
Yeah.
can do and share it, that becomes a whole different ballgame. So,
There's also a part where I would like to say sometimes you have to hustle in order to get the cash flowing, right? In
yes.
order to activate your dreams. So if you have to go for a position maybe for 1 or 2 years and you're just biting through, I think that's okay. If it has the purpose of funding your dream
Right.
project, funding whatever it is that you love to doing. So what would be 1 or 2 or 3 fundamental questions that you would ask so that the youth of the next coming generation would find that strength and that resilience within themselves?
Well, first of all, and that's another thing, we have to learn to sacrifice. Nothing is handed to us and it's all a bed of roses and rainbows and flowers and, oh, it's the beach and the breeze. And, it would be beautiful. But I can tell you that you would be bored quickly. The difference is learning from the sacrifice, from the struggle, that you've earned what you have, that it's so worth you exerting yourself to the point that you become disciplined and very focused on what your plans are. When you get distracted, that's when you don't know which way to go. When you
Mm.
have this idea that no, you're just going to hang out with friends and maybe one day. There's Monday through Sunday, and I don't know that any of those days are called one day. So if you're already speaking one day, that means you're never going to do it. Okay? So that is a huge like epiphany for me that I tell kids. It's like one day win. One day, tell me when one day happens. And when
One
you
day
tell me
never
that,
comes.
right.
One day never comes.
So you start now and you start with baby steps.
Yeah.
You put down on paper your list of what you want to accomplish. And yes, some things are seen because when you take the big picture look, it seems impossible. It's like, and it's easy. The brain wants to protect you and is going to say, ooh, that's a lot of work. Nah, just put it aside. You'll get to it later. Cause that's human instinct to put everything for later. But later never comes. So and that also has a lot to do with your emotions because you're all excited and you want to do it. And that's the gear, that's the momentum you need to start. But then if you get to that point and you start looking at the big picture, it's overwhelming. No, I can't do it. And so we quit. Instead of looking at yes, you need to know the big picture, but start looking at the things you can control. Start looking at the baby steps you can take. Start looking at the things you can learn. Start following the people that are already doing something similar. You're not going to be like them, but when you find your essence, when you discover who you are, and when you really know that that's what you want to do, it's going to happen. It's
Yeah.
going to be lined up in the proper way where you feel organized, where you feel disciplined, where you feel like, okay. And yes, you're going to make mistakes. And yes, you're going to have failure because that is all part. Failure is a stepping stone to success. That's
Yes.
something that when I heard failure, oh, I don't want to fail. I don't want to fail.
Neither
But
did
they
I.
didn't ever tell me just when you fail, you could get closer to success because you'll find out that that particular thing that you're doing didn't work for you. So it didn't work for you. So you learn your little lessons that you might have picked up because now you're focused on what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you're able to make a list. Okay, these things work. I might could find another route. I might could try another way. I might could get people to help me. I might could take a course. There's always resources out there. None of us got to where we are in the success field because we did it alone. And that's another thing. You
That's another
have to
thing. Yeah.
surround yourself with the right people. And we are a sum of the 5 people that we're around. I noticed that my environment was very toxic, but I don't blame those people for making it toxic. I'm the one that amplified the toxicity by saying, oh, I've been hurt. Oh, I couldn't have children. Oh, my parents didn't love me. Oh, and you just find like it's a competition among those people because you're trying to outdo each other with the worst misery. What's wrong with that picture? What is wrong with that picture? That's the last thing you want to do. The first thing you
Yeah.
want to do is resolve what has been bugging you all along. And those emotions, when they're not settled, that's why we get stressed. That's why we lose sleep. That's why we get headaches and stomach problems and everything. Our body warns us. That's another thing nobody taught me. Your body warns you.
Yeah.
When you start thinking too much and you're overthinking, you're like, you just want to give up and throw the towel and say, I can't. What is it worth? And like you start justifying why you're not doing it instead of saying, okay, it's not as easy as I'd see it, but maybe I could tackle it by little bits and see. And so I tell the kids, don't think you're going to do it overnight. Nothing happens overnight. You weren't born overnight. It took you 9 months to get to being to the point that you got that you were born, and then you had to learn, and then you had to grow up, and then you had to figure out. So we're all in the same evolution of processes. We're just not in the same place. That's why we see all that confusion. That's why we hear all this comparison and, oh, well, they did it. Well, maybe they got lucky. And luck isn't everything either.
I think it really depends. But what I find is just really how people or how you handle yourself in specific situations. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so there's, I want to cry, and there's, I want to do something about it. Now, in order to get rid of the emotion, you can cry as an outlet, right? And then
Exactly.
release that emotion and then be done with it and then get to work and do step by step by step by step. Take a mentor, take a course, read a book, right?
Mm-hmm.
About resilience. For example, your book is exceptional. I have it on Kindle here. So it's really amazing to read your story and then really just take the role models that have already lived through it and then turn it and fill it up with your own soul.
That's
Use the
it. That's it.
steps and
If
fill
if
it
you
up
if
with
you
your
get
own soul.
those baby steps in a
Yeah.
pattern of logical way to do things,
Mhm.
and it takes time. I didn't get to where I'm at. It took me 60 years to
Yeah.
learn a whole bunch of stuff that I've had to unlearn. And that's another thing. The things we learn, sometimes we have to unlearn them.
Mhm.
Sometimes we have to adjust them to how it is that we are presented in this world, because
Yes.
it's not a magic formula for everybody. And I wish I had it. It's like, oh, you need to this, and this, and then you're going to
Yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
It's
True.
a trial and error. It's being consistent and constant, and eventually you start getting that wheel moving, that momentum, and then you start seeing everything start falling into place. But you have to be patient, you have to be perseverant, you have to be disciplined, you have to listen, you have to learn. There's a lot to work, and all these people that had made it big, even that Steve Jobs with Apple, he didn't start off like they presented him to the rest of the world.
Yeah,
He
it's
really
true.
started off with heart, and he ended his life in a hard way, but he realized and he acknowledged that my life was more important than everything I had done.
Mm.
And that's when we have to value ourselves. We come here as a miracle. So live as a miracle.
Yeah.
Grow your miracles and your blessings along the way, and you will see that life is more abundant. You will see that you will attract the right things. And all this new age stuff that was presented to me, I was like, okay, universe, come on, bring it. But it's not.
Bring it. We can take it.
No, that's the part that we have to just kind of like discover in a different way. But it's having faith, but faith in yourself. And it really, I say, it doesn't matter what religion you are. I don't promote any kind of religion. I just know that there's something greater than all of us in here,
Yeah.
and that's who I go to. If you have another way of figuring it out, fine. So the most important thing is have faith in yourself, believe in yourself, pick out all the things that you want to become, and start advancing little by little, and you will see. And when you present it that way, kids are like, well, I got time. I got exactly. And that's my point. It's like, if I discovered this at 62, I turned 65 the end of this month, I feel like I'm 20 something,
Yeah.
because I have the magic formula of what's going to make me happy. If
Yeah.
someone had told me that a while back, I wouldn't have never probably would have never done what I've done today, because I would have been handed everything to me at the same time. So the struggle is very much a part of the process.
Absolutely. And I find that when you speak about the resilience, there is that pain and that struggle and all of the stuff that's actually necessary in order to, okay, so what I just before our call, I went for a walk and I was like, so what is the meaning of life? And if I'm going to ask Marty, what is the connection between resilience and leadership? How do these connect? Because I saw you as a God-fearing woman, and I was like, so this is really cool. I believe in love and in freedom, and I find that as long as I respect that, I'm on the right side of life, right? And I am already here for what I'm standing for. So how do what was the question? I went for the walk and I was asking myself,
The meaning of life.
what is the meaning of life? And I figured it is we come here as souls who have been put on this earth to experience a beautiful planet with a hellish type system.
Exactly.
And we have to figure out a way. What is my character? What is my strength? How can I stay true to that, what I really am? And I believe that it's love and it's life. And
Exactly.
even if we are giving life, even if we are helping other people, that is charging our own love battery. It's charging who we are. It's like a battery.
That's
It's
it.
like
That's
we're
it.
helping someone and we're feeling good about it. And it's like this reciprocation type thing. It's not, oh, I keep giving and giving and giving and giving. I'm not getting anything back. It is the growth. It is, if I smile at someone, they smile back. Man, how great is that day?
Exactly.
Right?
And I think I discovered that, okay, God, I moved 49 times and I don't know the language and this, and I bitch, moan, and complain about how it's not knowing Spanish. But at the same time, it's like I learned a universal language, and it is a smile. It is a hug. It doesn't matter what language, everybody understands it. So there is and it's something else that now, taking a bigger picture look at everything, I see that we're no different than anybody across the pond. We're no different. Everybody wants to be acknowledged. Everybody wants to be heard and
Mhm.
recognized as being who they are. The
Yes.
problem with us is we let other people tell us who we are instead of us expressing who we want to be. And that is
Never
a difference. But
known.
love was key for everything. And to me, God is love. But love turns the ordinary into extraordinary. And that is an article I am now getting ready to publish, because I see it. I see it as like, when you're in love, you can't be mad at the world. You
That's right.
can't feel the same, I hate everything, because then
Yeah.
you just drop yourself right there where you started.
Yeah.
But when you're in love, you look for goodness. You find the blessings hidden in the mess and the disaster that the
Yeah.
world is. And
Yeah.
you start picking it. And when the more you pick it, the more they come at you, the more blessed you are. And then they multiply. When you get someone else that has that same effect, they multiply the blessings, and everybody feels better. And they're like, wow, what kind of surgery did you have? What did you do? What are you taking? Because
Did
they
you hit
think
your
it's
head?
a magic formula. No, it's the earned work that you've done from all the sacrificing that you've figured out to deal with, and be grateful for it. And gratitude is another thing. It's love, it's gratitude, and it's believing in yourself. And those are the key things for resilience. But I'm now doing electronic courses. I'm going to start teaching those to different people. But I've also been asked to go to a finishing school in India, of all places, and it's virtual, to teach young women about resilience. And they're like the socialites that want to grow up in a different, and to me, that is like, if I teach them resilience, they're going to go out and teach it to other people. They're going to go out and share it. And that's what I want. It's not, oh, here I am, I've been through hell and I got out of hell and now look at me. No, it's more like, I've been through hell, I got out of hell, and now I want you to come with me, and together we'll learn and discover the magic of life. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how you get a team of people. That's how you get everybody cooperating with each other, sharing, interchanging talents and treasures. And that's how you grow the world. So I'm not running for office, but if you put me in charge.
Why not? Why not?
Because it's so life is simple. We just complicated the heck out of it. For some
Yeah,
reason or another, I don't know what we chewed the cover on the books. We didn't read it. We didn't read
yeah,
it.
that's true.
But
That's very, very true.
I hope
Yeah.
that made a little sense with you of everything that I've
It's absolutely,
presented.
absolutely. I find, and I just had an idea, which is kind of like outside of the topic, but I thought, or maybe it's not. I thought if we only teach Indian women resilience, or if you only teach Indian women resilience, who is actually running the industry in India and who is the backbone of India? And I find it is the women, but the women are still in that cultural type setting where
They
they are going to be married to the man and the man has to say so. So actually, I find we need to educate both. And we have
exactly.
to do both so that the men start to understand the women and the women understand the men, because both are in some kind of predicament in their heads and they don't understand each other. It's just a
And
role
that's the
thing that
thing
they
that
are fulfilling.
in Spanish, in the Latin American culture in Colombia, the same way. It's like the male is the dominant figure. They're the ones that go out and get their degrees. Mama takes care of the family. But what if
Yeah.
the mama can't have a family? What you already like? You're nothing. You got nothing to offer. So
No.
you already shutting yourself down from doing it. Instead of being that way, it's like, what can you be? How can you help the world? And those are questions that you can answer yourself by discovering who you are. So yes, I agree that the cultural, you know, keystone there is hard for a lot of people that only have known the one way.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it is education. Education teaches undoes a lot of things, but teaches a lot of things to look at them differently. But at the
Yeah.
same time, depending on the source of that educates you, because that's
That
another
is
thing.
true. That's true.
So
But yeah,
discernment of what and that's where I did my homework with all these courses. It's like, okay, Marty, no, this isn't this isn't you. It's and that's another thing. Like you can tell if something makes you comfortable or uncomfortable from the get-go. If already you're doubting yourself and questioning it,
that's already a
put it
no.
aside. Put it
Yeah.
aside. Look at something that at least gets your interest and makes you want to look more.
Yeah.
And then you might get to that same thing and look at it more and you're like, "Ooh, that's not what I thought." Put it aside. So don't grind yourself to a halt. Instead, start looking because looking will find your fit. But if you
And
never
keep
look,
testing. Yeah. And
if you
keep
never
testing.
look, no one's going to show you. No one's going to
Yes.
show you.
True. Very true. Very true. So I find that in school or in our educational system, it's very, very limited to what children are being exposed to, or even in university, what they are being exposed uh, to test and see what is actually working for me. So the leadership in learning is also limiting the views of the students, which they're actually supposed to widen, right?
That's it.
So
And
so
that's
what
it.
I find important is that people actually test, is this something for me? Is this something not for me? I never thought that leadership would be something that I would be interested in until I
Well,
dipped my toes in it. And I'm
I
like,
hear
oh,
you.
wow,
People
wow.
people call me a leader and I said, "Of what?" But now I see that, yeah, I'm kind of all about including other people to be part of me, but at the same time having their own definition of who they are. Because
Yes,
that's
that's so true.
it's like highlighting all your talents and treasures without stepping over anyone else around you and enhancing the surrounding with all of that. And
Yeah,
and and when you I don't know, when you compliment someone and you don't expect anything in return, all of a sudden you get blessed in a way that you Like, where did that come from? And now I see that that is true, that when you don't have that intention of taking advantage of something just because it's there for you to take, instead you're diligently applying the knowledge that you learn from learning from that person or whatever, and then you share it with someone else, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you got a bridge built over something that you never imagined being part of. And that's
Yeah.
where I find myself right now. So
Yeah.
my experience right now is like, oh my God, I'm getting loaded with a whole bunch of opportunities. And I already know what my opportunity is that I need to focus on, because I am 65 soon, and I don't have time to pussyfoot around and say, okay, maybe, maybe I'll try this. No, but the kids that are younger, they got time. They got time,
Yeah.
and they got treasure, and they got talents. Find the right resources, get educated, learn, read, write, discover, draw, music, all the art. And that's the beauty of art. And art to me was like, what am I going to do with art? Why? Because actually knew how to draw and paint pictures and everything. I had a 4-year scholarship in art, Rhode
Oh,
Island
wow.
School of Design. My parents didn't want me to take the scholarship, so I was like, see, I tried. And they were
Mm.
going to pay for it. But had I jumped into that, I would have never been where I find myself now. So now I see the why and the wherefore of everything that happened. It just doesn't come to you when it's happening, but that's what I want to show the world. It's like, okay, you might feel like you're swimming in nothing, or you're just a disaster waiting to happen. No, that's part of the process. You just have to sort out, count your blessings, and count your obstacles. Figure out which of those obstacles you can control at your pace, and the rest of them, find the resources to help you with them. Find those people that want to be the ones to take you under the wing and show you.
Yeah.
If you're over in that corporate headquarters in general, to me was, I don't like corporate. Why? Because you see the people on top, and they don't want the little people to get up to the top.
Mm.
But it's the little people that took them to the top.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
my thing is, if you're down there, come here, I'll show you. We can climb together to the top. And that's leadership. Because then you're
Yes.
understanding not only what you want, but what you want for the rest of the people. And to me, that is true leadership. But that's just my interpretation of what life has taught me.
I love this stuff. I really love it. I also find that a lot of times we have these fears of messing up stuff. And
Mm.
I learned that most of the time our head is making up so much stuff, and it can never be that bad. It
No,
can
no,
never
we
be
talk
as bad as
ourselves
you
out.
imagine.
We don't want, that's why I say the brain wants to protect you, and he wants the shortcut, the easy way out. No, 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 that's too hard. Oh, no, you're going to stress. We find all the reasons why we can't.
Yeah.
When you discover the one that you can, you'll change that whole rigmarole of facing something that you're not sure of. And you'll see, oh wow, okay, that wasn't that bad. Let me go on to the next one. And you start getting that motivation, that inspiration to keep doing a little better. And then you look back. Then you
Mm.
look back and say, wow, I started over there, and look at me now. Because before, I would look back at my life and say, it's a disaster. I haven't gotten anything. I mean, and even the things that were good, I didn't even notice them, because I was so worried about all the things that bad happened to
Mm.
me. And that's a disproportionate way of looking at stuff. It's just,
Yes.
the more you suffer, the more you are going to succeed. I will say that, the more you suffer. The
Yeah.
problem is not giving up.
Yeah. I have to keep going, have to keep going, have to keep going, have to keep
Uh-huh.
going. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, what would be the words that you would give our youth? What would you say? The last words,
Never give
finalizing.
up. Never give up on yourself. Be your best friend. Know that you have always going to be with you until the day you die. You're the only one person, you're the only friend that you have that will never abandon you, that will never leave you, will never disappoint you. And the second one for me, the most important is God, because that's how I see. He never abandoned me. I just didn't see him. I didn't notice him. I was blaming the world for everything that went wrong. But never give up and believe in yourself, and you will see. Your eyes will open. Your heart, believe in your heart, not your mind. Your mind gets you all in a mess. Listen to your heart, because even if you think things through and you make a decision and you still have that, but I want, then you haven't settled your heart. Your heart is the one that speaks to you from deep down inside what you really can accomplish.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marty. This was such a delight.
Thank you.